It's the cool of the day. The cool of the day. The cool of the day. Family, y'all are in for a treat today on season 2, episode 6 of the Cool of the Day podcast. We're diving into our special segment, What's Your Business? And today I've got a guest who is all about teaching people how to make money multitask. Coach Simon Steele. Coach Steele grew up in Savannah, Georgia, raised by a strong single mom who supported 7 kids. And from a young age, he learned the value of hard work and helping family. Fast forward, an actor serving in the army, raising his own family, and even climbing out of over $120,000 of debt. Y'all, $120,000. That's not easy. Of debt. He didn't just stop there. He turned his testimony into a ministry of financial education. Now, every week on his YouTube channel, Coach Steele's Finance Training, make sure y'all go subscribe on YouTube. He breaks down money in a way that's not only understandable but entertaining and funny. He's coached hundreds of families into debt freedom and helps people all over the world create constant passive income. So get ready because this conversation is about to shift you in a way that you never seen coming. Let's jump right into it. So, yeah, let's get into what's behind the wealth. That's this topic for today with Coach Simon Steele. Y'all give a hand clap. Hey, Coach Steele, how is it going?
It's going great, and I'm excited to be here on the Cool of the Day podcast. I've been waiting for this, so it's an exciting moment for me, and I am so glad that you invited me to come speak on your platform. I am humbled and very appreciative.
Oh, thank you. I'm humble too. I remember when I seen you at the I Pray, I Plan, and I Execute event. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna work with him one day, and I didn't know that that would be today. I didn't know that that would be today. God give you that nudge, like he's
Yes.
different or she's different. I want to work with that person, or maybe yeah, that person. So it was a couple people that I'm actually connected with from the event, and I'm just so grateful to have I didn't even talk to you, but I seen you, and
Yes.
yeah, I went from there. So what first drew you to real estate and financial literacy? Was there a turning point or a personal story that sparked this passion?
Yes, there are a few things that drew me to understand financial literacy better, and then eventually to real estate. Financial literacy, I really wanted to be able to understand financial literacy, how money works, be able to be a better steward of what I have. My mom, she raised 7 children, and 2 of them were actually my cousins, but we grew up together from like before kindergarten. So
Yeah.
we grew up calling each other brother and sister. And so those 2 cousins were there. And then my stepdad, my mom had 2 children by him, and he was killed by a drunk driver when I was like in the second grade. So she ends up having 7 children, raising them by herself because she's taken 2 of them in because my aunt passed away when they were young, my 2 cousins. And so, long story short, as a registered nurse, she was doing the best she could to maintain the household. But one parent and 7 children, it was not enough money coming in. And my mom only knew what her parents taught her. And so, when we look back at the history of our culture, unfortunately, the subject of money and what to do with it was not taught at a high level to everyone. And so growing up poor and having to see certain things, and there's nothing wrong with hand-me-downs, but having to experience that, not always able to get a haircut. And also, there were times I remember during holidays, Thanksgiving, people from the church would have, I would be the house where people from the church would have to bring food to give us food to eat. And so I experienced so many different hardships in life that I said, I need to figure out, based on all these things I dealt with in life as a young child, how can I learn so that when I have a family, I don't have to deal with those things again, and I could potentially help other families that are in need, but be able to do it in love. You know, when somebody drops something off
Yeah.
at your house, you can see who's being judgmental, who's looking at you sideways, or your
Yeah.
condition. And so I wanted to be able to help other people, but do it in a loving way. So that's what helped me, drew me to financial literacy. As far as real estate, in my early 20s, I know I wanted to have a house for my family to live in, but I also wanted to learn how to make passive income. There were so many things as a young soldier at 22 years old, 21 years old. I couldn't afford certain things like extra insurance for my family. I couldn't afford how to set up a retirement and all these other things I knew I needed. But I learned from someone. There was an older gentleman on TV named Carlton Sheets, and he used to talk about real estate investing and how you can make passive income. And that sparked the interest in me. And I said, well, if I can make some passive income besides just my regular 9 to 5 job, then I can afford to invest in the stock market. I can afford to buy more insurance and a few other things. And that gave me the real estate bug that I needed.
Wow, that you said a lot here that I actually was writing down some stuff that you said. Um You said your mom only knew what her parents taught her, and that is so big, because that's in every household, that I believe. It was in my
Yes.
home growing up, and my family was not financially stable. Like it was on and off seasons, on and off, on and off. And during those off seasons, it was a lot of stress that came out of
Mhm.
that. It was a lot of arguments, and I had a two-parent household. Thank God for that. But at the same time, it was two people who were stressed out. You know what I'm saying? Not just one person, it was like two
Yeah.
people. And I never was really taught about money. Like we were told to not get credit cards, to not
Mhm.
spend your money on crazy stuff, whatever crazy stuff that was. But we didn't actually have a plan like to sit down and go over savings account or sit down and go over, like how to invest. Like I literally just started figuring out how to invest like a few months ago, and it was literally not with someone in my household or in my family's home.
Mhm.
And so I had to realize too, because I was angry at my parents because I'm like going living out on my own with two kids, and I'm like, why don't I have what I'm supposed to have by now? Why am I always
Yes.
broke? Every time I look up, I have to pay this bill, that bill, but then at the end of the day, I don't have anything. Or I'm spending money just to
Mhm.
satisfy a material need that will only satisfy it for a moment. And then now I'm back mad because, I don't have the money to do what I need to do. And I never really had a goal. I never had a goal with my finances. I can be honest about that because I just never had a goal. I just didn't. I didn't know what goals to set. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this money. I used to be afraid of
Mhm.
getting money, more money, because I'm like,
Wow.
I don't know what to do with this. Literally. I'm like, God, I'm afraid to even use this money. And then I would keep it for a little bit, but then I'd go and
Mhm.
spend it on things that were material stuff because I didn't have a goal. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have nothing to go by. So it was easy. It was quick to like give into that temptation to go and like just spend it on crazy stuff. And I love when you said my mom only knew what her parents taught her because that's the same thing with our parents. My parents, they only knew what their parents taught them, but I want to be more than that, you know,
Yes.
and I'm not bashing my parents or anything, but that's just what they do, and they always wanted more from me. They're like, you're gonna do great. And I'm like, how if I wasn't taught how to, you know?
Mhm.
But it's funny because now that I'm an adult and I'm out of my parents' home, like it's almost like I'm sitting right under his feet, and being taught like a student. with different life experiences. Sometimes, like with the podcast, even I learn things every single time I do a podcast with someone. Um, and just sitting under God's feet, reading the Word of God, listening to my apostle, listening to, what he says about, going to like get insurance, do investments, things like that. And I'm like, Lord, I don't know where to go. So he sends people to me, literally. God sends
Yes.
people my way, or he send me to them.
Hmm. He will definitely do that. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, "My people perish for a lack of knowledge." And so spiritually, we can perish if we do not know Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. There is death. For the wages of sin is death. So if you don't know who Jesus Christ is as your Lord and Savior, yes, there you can perish, experience death. Same thing works with finances. If you don't have that knowledge, that information, that wisdom concerning your finances, financially you can perish because of a lack of knowledge. Our parents knew what they knew, but we can't just rely solely on the information that they passed down. We have to go research and hunt out and seek for more information. And so when we do that, then we find other things that are beneficial for us to help us continue to grow. And that's where we have to be. We have to be sponges and we have to seek out for more information. And that's one thing I do when it comes to financial literacy, when it comes to strategies. I never limit myself. I never put myself in a box, although some people will want you to, or stick to one system, one plan. I look and see what works best for me. When you start developing goals and systems that work for you, you won't be intimidated or worried when you get money. When I see extra money, Makisha, I get excited. I'm never
Mm.
intimidated or worried. Like, oh my gosh. I'm like, come on this way. I got plans for you. I have an assignment for that money because you already know I like to make money multitask. I'm going to put it to work strategically to work towards my benefit.
Man, listen, that's so good. Oh my goodness. You say we have to be sponges. I love
Yes.
that. We have to soak in everything. Like we have to soak in the things that we learn. We have to soak in the teachings. Like we can't just sponge it in and then wring it out. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to continue to soak it in and learn and then apply what we learn to our finances, apply what we
Hmm.
learn to our life, and you said do not limit, you don't limit yourself, you know, I think that's very important too. Even I'm 28 years old, and I always see an opportunity to like learn something, that's why I go to like these events and that most I don't see most 28-year-olds or 20-year-olds, well, at least not in my city. Well, that's what I think. Going to these events or going to like better themselves. I live in like a city or in a part of the city where it's mostly like poverty line people.
Hmm.
But I'm like my mindset is not where I am. My mindset is like totally not here. Like it's different, now. And I see certain people in my neighborhood and I'm like, why aren't they like better? Like why are we all so poor? Why I always had questions about everything. You know, why? Like why isn't like what is it? That's
Hmm.
just me. Like I would literally walk around places and be driving and I'm like, why is this like this? Why are people just sitting outside, hanging around all day every day? Why are we like this? A lot of men I see just sitting around, and I'm like, but back in the day, I'm pretty sure, well, I wasn't born back then, but as I heard stories being told, like my parents, they worked. And my dad, he worked, and his dad worked, but again, it's like we work for people, but what about working and having a business for ourselves, and you have your own business, you know? And that's something I always inspired. Like I always aspired to have was my own business. But I didn't know the
Hmm.
business behind the business. I had the creativity, but I
Yes.
didn't have that business aspect, of how to gain that money and not feel bad about like how much I'm charging people, or like I would charge people less than what I'm actually worth,
Mhm.
not
And
realizing my worth.
that can be dangerous for yourself as well. And you have to respect yourself enough. You have to care about yourself enough and all the gifts and skills, talents that God has placed in you to also see the value. There will be times to where you serve and it doesn't come with a cost. And then there are times where you have to get your worth. You have to respect yourself, your time, and your energy, even if others may not want to. And so that is a battle for a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners when they first start off. What if I make my prices too high? What if they
Yeah.
don't see the value? I just want to get people in the door. I got to get it somewhere, start somewhere. And so when you finally put your foot down and you raise the bar and you say, I know my value, I know my worth, this is what this service costs, this is what this product costs, then when you respect yourself, then the right clients, customers will come along and begin to respect what it is that you respect about yourself. And so you have to start somewhere. Don't be intimidated and get rid of the thought talk. Like once again, you have to shift your mindset. Sometimes we can be pessimistic when we should be optimistic. And so
Mm.
when you operate in the pessimistic mind frame, you'll think of every reason as to why you should not do something or why it may not work. But when we're optimistic, then we put ourselves in the right mindset of, yes, it will work. Now, all of a sudden, I'm being positive and I'm speaking those things as the way I should. And so we want to be able to be positive. When God created heaven and earth, when he first said, let there be light, he didn't say, oh, well, if I say this, I hope light comes. But what if I say and
That's
it doesn't
good.
show up? No, no, no. The God we serve, he was so confident when he said, let there be light, and there was light. So we have to look at how we speaking about our business. When God was creating heavens and the earth, it was his business. And when he spoke about his business, he did it in a positive mindset. That's
That was so
powerful. That was
good.
good to me. Ooh.
That was good. You spoke to my heart. I'm like, okay. Man, confidence booster all the way. Let there be light. He was like, God wasn't like, well, might be, but
Yeah.
let there be light. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That really spoke. Listen, whoever listening, I know that spoke to you. Listen, drop that comment below how much that spoke to you just now, because that went straight to my heart just now. So my second question, how do you stay disciplined and focused when results don't come quickly? You kind of answered that just now, but can you like go in depth
Okay.
about that one?
Can elaborate. This is good too, especially for people who are trying to be first time investors or young business owners. Where a lot of people struggle is they forget, and I love your topic, it's what's behind the wealth. So I'm going to deal
Yeah.
with this topic today. You have to remember what's behind the wealth. When you are struggling and things aren't going your way, how do you stay disciplined? One, you have to remember what you are building and what it takes to build it. When you do some Googles or research or chat GPT, one of the first things you'll see, if you say, how long does it take to grow a successful business? It'll probably tell you it takes about 3 to 5 years to grow a successful, profitable, cash flowing business. So, my Keisha, anybody can get an LLC and start a business or just start a business without the LLC. But when it can be successful, cash flowing, self sustaining, now that's a different story. It takes on average 3 to 5 years. So if you already have set in your mind and heart that I'm going to need a few years to get this to the point where it needs to be, well, in month 6, if let's say we're doing a podcast and we only have 10 people listening in, or 50, or only 100, whatever that number is, I'm not panicking. I'm still going to be disciplined. I'm still going to put out this content because I already know on average it takes 3 to 5 years. I'm only in month 6. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing this content out because does it always have to take that long? No, it can move quicker. But when we look at the statistics and we understand what's behind the wealth, in the field that I'm in, it may take 3 to 5 years. We hear stories about famous singers or or actors or actresses where it took them years before they finally got their big movie or they were able to be star in something. Some of them it takes longer than that to get noticed. And so that's how I can stay disciplined because I understand the numbers and I understand that when it comes to growing wealth, and I'm in real estate, you growing wealth is a process and it takes time. And so let's say you want to get to $1 million. When you're growing wealth, it might take you 5 to 7 years to have a net worth of $1 million. But the
Mm,
beautiful part of it is when you get that first million, it doesn't take the same time to get to 2 million because of compound interest and because the boost you already have from that first million, you'll get to 2 million even quicker. Same thing with if you wanted to make $50,000. If it took you 2 years to make 50,000, it might only take you 1 year to make it to the $100,000 mark because of what you learned, the power of compound interest, and that boost that you already started to help get you there. And so
wow.
that's what helps me stay disciplined and focused when times are rough. I know what I signed up for.
Wow. Yeah. So that's telling me stay the course. Stay the course.
Yes.
Don't quit. Because I quit at so many things. Listen, and because God gave me so many ideas and I quit at them, because I'm like, it's not growing. Like it's month two. I'm ready for my money now. I
You
was
know
like,
what you can quit though? You can I'll give you something good that you can quit. You can quit quitting.
quit,
You can
quitting.
yes,
Come on,
quit quitting.
drop those
Yeah.
messages for me. For real. And I quit quitting. That's what I did. That's why this is the season 2, episode 6. We already did, well, it's gonna be 15 episodes. That's the most consistent I've ever been in my life. Working out. I've been working out for 7 weeks straight,
Nice.
and when this episode come out, it's gonna be more.
Oh yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like that's the type of mindset that God is shifting me to. He's shifting me in. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but at the same time, it's like that extra boost of faith that you get once you actually go in it and do it. And like when I do podcasts or when I talk and I'm talking about God and I'm talking about how he has done so much in my life, I know others get blessed, but I get even more blessed. Like I get blessed too to just continue to go. The amount of testimonies I hear about people who are blessed from it, I'm like, it's not even me, it's you, God, because I wasn't even going to do this. You get all the glory. People are coming to you. They're talking about coming to you. Come on, like coming to you, Jesus. And that's all I ever wanted to do. Everything. And I actually wrote that down and I prayed to God about it. I said, everything that I do, God, let it be by your will, not mine. If it ain't in your will, redirect me, like turn me somewhere else. Turn me to your will. And he did
Yes.
that. It's been things that he took out of my life. Things that he led me out of, relationships he led me out of, thinking that I thought that I was alone, and he like, no, I'm pruning you. You like that butterfly right now in the cocoon stage. I'm pruning you. I'm molding you and I'm shaping you. You're not alone. I'm with you. You have a community that you can actually go to too. Like, so if I could tell somebody, I'm like, hey, you're not alone. God is with you every step of the way. Keep going.
What you're saying is so powerful, and it actually ties into a few things that you have going on. So, for example, your podcast is called The Cool of the Day.
Mhm.
Okay, what made you pick The Cool of the Day as the title?
I love when people ask me that. So the cool of the day started when I was in this room.
Mm-hmm.
I was in this room. And this room I call my prayer room, my office, like slash
Mm-hmm.
podcast thing or whatever. But initially it was my prayer room only. And I literally would come in here every morning. I would be on my knees or I'd be flat faced on the floor, crying out to God, praying to God. I worship in this room. Those writings on the wall, I wrote them. I put them on the wall. They're tailored to scriptures and God, my testimony, to remind me of what He brought me through. And it was during the quiet times of the day, early morning. I would be in here. I used to be in here like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes 12 a.m. Whenever he would wake me up, I would come in this room. I would shut my door, and my kids were asleep. You know, I was in here by myself. It was quiet outside because I'm in a neighborhood where they make a lot of noise. So I thank God that it's quiet right now. And it was that peaceful time with God and I. And sometimes I would be like, Lord, I'm frustrated. It would be those times where I'd be honest with God, come to Him, and I read the Word. I've been having this for so long, this spiritual growth Bible, and just meditating on His Word and singing. I would sing, because I always was a singer. I would sing His praises and worship to Him, and that was considered the cool of the day, walking with God. He was teaching me.
Yes,
He was
correct.
shaping me. What is
So
this on
when
my?
you talk about connecting with God in this room where you're located and you call it the cool of the day, when we see that in scripture, we see it in Genesis, in the Old Testament, when in the cool of the day, God could be found connecting with his creation, Adam. And so, in the cool of the day, speaks to a time where man was in the garden that God put him in, and he could connect with God one on one. So that's why I like how you call it the cool of the day and how that room gave you the inspiration. But in that space was a garden. So when you said God pruned you in these moments, in a garden, of course, I grow vegetables and fruit, and
Mhm.
I have to prune those things. And so when I prune these plants, it helps them grow and bloom better. And when I prune, sometimes I'm getting rid of dead leaves that are taking up energy or things that are on the plant that shouldn't be there, that's hindering the growth from happening. So the pruning looks like it hurts the plant, but it actually benefits the plant. So when you talk about pruning and you call it the cool of the day, it makes me think of the Garden of Eden. So that's why I asked
Ah,
you that.
you're the second person who said that I interviewed, and that speaks to me because I never thought about that. You know what I'm saying? Like I never thought about this being a garden. I'm in a garden of Eden with God. I never thought about it like that. It was just me, in the morning, I've just seen myself walking with Him. Like in the dark too. Like I see myself walking with Him, and to be honest, it even started before I was in this room. When I was homeless, that's when it actually started. But I didn't have that, like revelation of it then, but it started then because I was alone. I didn't have my
Mhm.
kids with me. I was with someone, but I still felt alone. I felt alone, and I felt that God was separating me to do what you just said, to get me out of that old thinking into the kingdom mindset. And that season was hard for me. It was hard. It was hard. It was hard. I literally would be at the lake, or I would go to these different parks in Georgia, Lake Marion. I would go to Forsyth Park. I would go to like all these different beautiful lakes in Georgia, and I would sit there. I would sit in the car. I didn't exercise. I would sit in the car, and I literally would be crying, reading the Word of God, praying, and singing in my car. Then He told me to get out of the car. So I got out of the car and I would sit like at the water, like on at the picnic table. Then He told me to walk. So after like a couple of days or weeks, because I was homeless for like a whole year. So after a couple of weeks, I'm now walking around the park, getting some exercise in so I can breathe better. Like getting that, okay, I can breathe, like that anxiety. He told me to walk. Then after a while, he said jog a little bit. So now I'm jogging, like, okay, I'm jogging, and I was feeling good. And ultimately, getting back into the exercising and exercising my mind, but then also going to the Word of God and praying and exercising my spirit and, you know, Him feeding me spiritually, it came to be that I left Georgia. I left that person. I left Georgia, you know, and I ultimately went back to my parents' house, even though as bad as I didn't want to. I went back because God was telling me to go back, to get
Yeah.
out, go back, go back, go back. As hard as it's going to be, go back. I was depressed. I was sad. I was really, what's it called? Hard on myself. Because I'm like, how can a girl who people said will be great, who people said, well, people told me this, and I knew it for myself, who would accomplish so much. I am still, I'm still very smart and intelligent, but during that season, I didn't feel that. I didn't, I feel like I made the most dumbest decisions to put me here financially.
Think about this. There's a gentleman in the Bible. His name is Joseph.
Uh-huh.
And so he had a dream as a young boy, maybe around 17 years old. In that age, he was very young. And the dream showed how he would be elevated above his brothers, how he was going to have success and be raised up. But when they had him in a pit, when he was in Potiphar's house, being Potiphar's servant, when they end up putting him in prison, all of these different locations, he could have felt a certain way. But when we know what we've been called and what we've been assigned to and the success that we're going to have in God, even though we feel something, we still have to remember the promise.
Mm,
We still have to remember what God says about us. And Joseph was able to continue to remember his promise and the dream that God gave him from a young boy, like you said, even when you were young. And
mm,
so we're going to have detours and stops along the way, but we can't let those feelings define or determine where God says our final destination is. And Joseph is one of my favorite people to study in the Bible because his financial acumen and his gifts and how he used them to reach financial success, not only for himself, his family that lived in another country, and Egypt that God had the Pharaoh put him over Egypt to be able to help maintain them during a famine. I study
mm.
Joseph all the time because there's so many life lessons to learn from him and how he was able to get Egypt to have financial success even during a famine when most people would struggle.
Wow. Wow. You tell me all about all these great stories. I'm like, dang, I gotta go read Joseph. I gotta go back and read him. 'Cause you can kind of feel when your life is like someone else's life in the Bible. You know, I feel like the Bible is someone said that I forgot what she said. I forgot what she said, but I feel like the Bible, like, I always wondered, why are just these people like in the Bible? Like, why didn't God talk about, you know, somebody else or this person? But like all of them, you know, we can relate to at certain points of our lives. You know, like, and I'm going back to when I was homeless. When I was homeless, I was really into David, because I was reading Psalms 23 like crazy. You know, God kept leading me to Psalms 23, and I'm like, okay, okay, I know you haven't left me, and I still like what you said. You seen the vision, you seen the dream, and Joseph seen the dream, and I seen what God was going to do for me. I seen what was ahead of me. I was like, okay, God, I'm walking with you. You say you're my shepherd, and I shall not want. You say you will lead me, you know, and I'm like, I'm in this valley right now, you know, with just a shadow of death. And that's what I knew. I said, this is just a shadow. It's just a shadow. I'm gonna get out of this. And that's exactly what happened. I got out. And I'm better, you know, better from that experience, making better money habits. I would say that
Yes.
since we're talking about wealth, making better money habits. Yeah, so as you were talking about the practices of that Joseph did, what habits or daily practices help you stay sharp, like both as an investor and as a teacher?
Well, of course, and you mentioned it earlier. One of the things I do every Saturday morning, 9 a.m., Eastern Standard Time Zone. I go live on my YouTube
Woo.
channel and I talk about financial literacy on Coach Steele's finance training. And I talk about different subjects. My base and what I like to talk about is budgeting and good basic money habits. But we talk about other things, investing, dividend stocks, real estate. But by teaching those different subjects, it makes me and helps me stay sharp. I open my comment section up so people can ask questions in real time and we interact and talk about money.
Mhm.
But another thing that helps me stay sharp is not only am I talking about real estate investing, but then I go search and hunt, find deals, and I still invest in real estate in real time. I still invest in dividend stocks. I still buy a little crypto here and there. And so I have my hands to the plow. I get my feet wet. And so the things I talk about, I'm actually doing, and I'm able to have a level of success. So then when I come and talk to people on my YouTube channel, I can share my screen, open up my portfolio, give examples of what I'm doing, what works. And so that's how I'm able to stay sharp because I practice what I preach.
I was thinking about that. Practice what you preach. Listen, be a man
Yes.
of your word. Like God is a man of his word. So we should be like him, like practice what you preach. So what myths about money or investing do you see holding people back the most?
Oh, there's so much information out here, Markeisha. Like there's so many different ways to have like financial success. But just like, and I'll go back to Genesis, the Garden of Eden, there were multiple rivers in the garden. And that's one of the things that motivated me about financial literacy. When you read about the Garden of Eden and what was there, and you see all these different rivers that were in the garden, so I looked at them as streams. I said, okay, God set up a perfect place for man and woman, and they had multiple streams. I need to have multiple streams.
Multiple.
And so learning that, it opened my mind up to be open to different types of streams, different strategies to create those streams of income in my life. So the myths, sometimes there may be a myth about money concerning a certain subject. But that myth or that rule does not apply if I'm running a different strategy or system. So sometimes people will say, don't pay off your house because if you pay off your house early, then you won't have the tax write offs on your property tax that you pay annually. Well, if my property tax that I pay annually is like $2,000 or $3,000, but my mortgage payment is $1,000 a month. That's 12,000 for the year. I don't want a portion of the $3,000 write off. I would rather have that $12,000 back in my pocket. So, and then some people say instead of rushing to pay off the mortgage, you can take that money and invest it into other things. So there's so many different myths, and there's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on what your strategy and what your plan is. Somebody may be trying to put as much as they can into their retirement account. So they may not want to rush to pay off their mortgage. And
Mm.
so when it deals with should you pay your mortgage off or shouldn't you, it depends on what your strategy is there and how you plan on doing it. And on top of that, it's possible to do both. One thing that I do as a strategy consultant is I teach people how to eliminate their debt and their mortgage balance at a fastest rate as possible. Sometimes we use the HELOC strategy. Some people can't get apply for a HELOC, so we use different systems. So what I've learned is don't put myself in a box. There's going to be myths about money, but you have to find out what's true and what's not true, and what is your strategy, what is your system you're running to see if that myth even applies to your scenario.
Wow. So y'all hear it first thing, go to Coach Steele so y'all know what's true and what's not true.
We
There
hear
you
the
go.
debates of also like, okay, should you get term insurance? Should you get whole life insurance? You'll have
Ah,
some people who say don't do it, and you'll have some people who say do it. It
yes.
depends on your strategy and what plans you have in place. For some people, whole life insurance may not be the route they need to go right now. There may be other things priority that you need to take care of. Or if you decide to do whole life insurance, in my opinion, and once again with the myths of should you or shouldn't you, I think it should be used for multiple things besides just insurance. If you're going to go that route, You need to know the pros and cons and how much money it's going to tie up if you do that, because you could be using that money for something else. Or if you do tie your money up in whole life insurance, if there's some cash value, are you going to use that cash value to go make other investments? So, for example, if you have whole life insurance and has cash value in it, you could borrow against it, but now you're going to have to potentially pay that back, or there's other consequences. And I'm not a insurance expert, but if I were to have whole life insurance, I would borrow against it and go put it in a real estate investment,
And get
and
more.
then I would have that real estate investment that I make, I'll have that pay for my insurance. So now I don't panic over paying whole life insurance because I have an asset that is going to pay for what appears to be a liability that is developing into another asset in itself. Or have the real
Mm.
estate investment pay for the term insurance. Either way, all these different myths, I'm going to find assets to pay for my liabilities.
Wow. Finding assets to pay for your liabilities, because some people usually just get liabilities and then trying to figure out, well, I got this money, I borrowed
Yes.
against, like you said, the whole life. I borrowed against the whole life. And what am I using that money for? And that's where I'm at right now. I'm like, what am I going to use this money for? I have to have a goal if I'm going to take out any loan. If I'm going to take out any loan, if you borrowing against your own money, that's crazy to me though. But you borrowing against your own money, that cash
While it
value.
continues to grow in value.
Hmm.
Yes.
Well, it continues to grow value.
Yeah.
But that's something that people have to think about. Those who are listening, like think about that. Before you take out money that you're gonna have to pay back. What am I going
Yes.
to use this money for? And the one thing that I've been thinking about is investing, investing, investing. But then you have to do your research on investing too. So I actually was speaking to Ari, who's going to be on the event that we're having,
Mhm.
Deck the Halls and Not Your Debt. She's actually a life insurance consultant, and she talks about investments as well with her company, and it's good. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready to invest. Like I'm ready to I have something for me and my kids. I'm ready. I see that I have the plans, I have the goals. I'm ready. And like with a $50 investment, as it builds up, you can add more into it. You can,
Yes.
keep, and then you don't have to borrow against it. You can take your money out whenever I guess whenever it builds up, whenever you want to. I don't know every part of the investing part yet, but I want to use that money, use that money to like build my business, or use that money for like other things that is not going to be a liability but make my money grow. That's all I want to have this investment to make my money
Yes.
grow. Make it grow and
Definitely.
just let it stack up or rack up to the top. But I think that's interesting, because I never was thinking like that. I didn't even know what investments were. I never knew like life insurance. I'm like, being young, I'm like, I ain't get no life insurance. But then realizing that, I have kids, and what would I leave them
Mhm.
behind? Or how would they pay for my funeral, when I pass away?
Yes.
Like, that's things that people have to look into, because that's what caused, this generational bad habits, like if your parents ain't got it, then you gonna have to pay for the funeral or cremation or whatever, and then if you don't have any money that they left behind, so now so it's like a cycle, and I'm here to break that cycle. In my family, I'm breaking it. Um, if you could teach only one principle about managing money, that would change someone's life, what would it be?
Ooh, that's tough because I know so many principles. I am very big on budgeting your money well, stewarding your money well. But if I had to be stuck on one, I think I would tell people to spend less than what you make,
Mm,
and be consistent with that. Because once you start learning to spend less than what you make consistently, and you get good at that, you're going to have some cash flow left over at the end of every month. I like talking about cash flow because cash flow is what is left over after you pay all your bills, all your expenses, all of your needs, your wants, all of those things. what's left over at the end of the month. That cash flow is that extra money that now you don't need. And so when it's out there, now we can take that, we can invest it, we can be creative with it. So spend less than you make so you can have some cash flow so that you can start putting that cash flow, that money to work so that you can eventually not have to work and you can do the things that you like to do. And so everyone needs to eventually know what is uh, their financial freedom date and what is your financial freedom number. And if you use that cash flow wisely, you can get to that financial freedom date and to that financial freedom number.
And I'm taking notes. I hope everybody else is taking notes because this
Yeah,
is
she is
some.
writing some things down right now.
You can hear me writing.
And there's nothing wrong with that. With taking
No.
notes right now. That's what we should do. That's how we should be sponges, and we should learn. And that those are the things that help us get from point A to point B. As simple as it sounds. Sometimes I'm coaching people and counseling them with finances, and they'll say, "Well, how much should I start off investing?" Well, what is your cash flow? What do you have available to start investing? So if you have debts and other things that need to be taken care of, well, then maybe we need to prioritize and get rid of some of those bad debts so that we can free up cash flow so that you can start investing. And so it's very, very important to increase your cash flow.
I love that. Yes, like when you said spend less than what you make. Listen, and what I hear all the time, like I said, living in this neighborhood or being around people with a
Mhm.
poor mentality, I hear, well, I ain't got no money, well, I'm already poor, I already don't have enough. And like what you said, you have to learn how to budget, and a lot of people don't.
Yes.
A lot of people do not know how to budget. They don't. If
Yes.
they did, a lot of us would be wealthy. A lot of us wouldn't have these issues that we have. Um, but a lot of people,
Markeisha, one thing I learned when I studied financial literacy, most people are embarrassed about their financial situation,
Mhm.
and they shouldn't be. Because when you do research and you say, and I've learned about 70% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And so that's a big number. That means a majority of the people that you come across, no matter what they're wearing, no matter whether they look happy or sad, about 7 out of 10 people you come across, only about well, 7 of them are living paycheck to paycheck. They're struggling. If
wow.
something happens, it won't even be paycheck to paycheck. They'll have more month than they have money. And so there's a shortage happening. And so if 70% are paycheck to paycheck, that other 30%, some of them aren't even paycheck to paycheck. It might
Mhm.
actually be worse. But what I find is people are embarrassed, not realizing pretty much everybody has a financial problem and they need help. And so when we're in that state, pride gets in the way or embarrassment, and people don't go get help. They don't get assistance for what they need. We in America, we know to prioritize our physical health. We know we need to exercise because everyone can see it. And thank God in America, we are learning that mental health is important now. You know,
Yes.
before it wasn't that big when I was young growing up, but now it's becoming okay to go get mental health because you can't always see someone's mental state. The
Hmm.
physical we all can see, mental you can't always see. Finances is something you can't always see as well. You can't look in someone's bank account. And so we are able to hide and mask it so we're less likely to go get help when we can hide and mask. And so people shouldn't be ashamed. And that's why you have great people like me, financial coaches, because we're here to help you and assist you through those problems.
Yes. Listen, I'm coming to you because I don't know everything. I'm like, I don't want to go back down that same path or going around that same mountain. Like, I'm stopping it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I
Yes.
said I do these classes, and I'm glad I'm talking to you on this episode because I'm getting some food. Like I'm getting something to eat on my plate. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm listening and I'm taking it in, and it's no shame in it. Why be embarrassed? It's no shame in it. Like, who are we pleasing?
Correct.
So I thank you for coming on because it's like, Listen, I hope that this blesses someone else who may be listening or watching. Not be afraid to speak to someone like you or or not be afraid, to get that help. Speak up about where they are instead of, like you said, being prideful or afraid. Living in fear, because ultimately that will not get you anywhere. It will drag you down more so than it will pull
Mhm.
you up. It will literally drag you down with weights. Ooh, then it will pull you up and be free. It will drag you down. Um, I had a question about real estate. So,
Mhm.
what do you wish every beginner understood before they bought their first property?
Okay, I'll give an example. Whenever you buy your first property, I try to tell everyone there are some very simple and easy ways. Now, there's multiple ways to buy or invest in real estate, so I won't dive in each one, whether you go to a tax lien auction. Usually, like in Savannah, they do it on the first Tuesday of every month. But so I won't dive into those different ways to get a property. But like the average person, when you invest in real estate, most people they do that when they buy their first house. And
Mm,
usually we go hunting and we go look for, ooh, when I get my first house, this is what I want it to look like. I want two-car garage. I want at least four bedrooms. We got to have more than one bathroom, especially
okay.
like me. I grew up, like I told you all earlier, there were seven kids in the house and we all shared one bathroom. So yeah, you got
Ooh.
to get up early in the morning and get your time in. So anyway, so we fast forward back to now, right? So of course, another exciting and what appeals to me about real estate is I can have more room and space than when I was a child. If you're a beginner, and you're looking for that home, I tell everyone just go get a starter house or go get like a multifamily unit property or like a duplex. And some people say, well, why? What do you mean by a starter house? Get
Mm,
something simple that's easy and is affordable and easy to pay, doesn't cost much at all. Like you know for a fact, every month I can make this mortgage payment with ease and I have extra left over. Now that gives you an opportunity to invest more or just completely pay the house off in full. So when I
yeah.
was younger, I bought a starter house. It was a three-bedroom, one bathroom house, and I think it was around 2004 or five. And that starter house, of course, back then was only like $70,000, so in there, because houses were cheaper back then.
Yeah.
And so the mortgage payment was only like maybe 550 a month, maybe 600. And
Ooh.
so it was easy to pay. And I eventually paid that house off in full, but I was still living there, my Keisha. So now I'm like really loving it because I don't even have a mortgage payment every month. All I have is like property tax and insurance I have to take care of. No more principal and interest payments on this mortgage. And then a few years later, I said, now I'm going to go buy the house that I want
Mm,
because I knew I was not going to sell the starter house. So I'm talking to these beginners. Buy you a starter house. When you move out of that starter house, then you can go buy the house you want. Now, I said this principle earlier. Sometimes you have to acquire a liability, create it, and make it an asset to pay for what you want, which is potentially another liability. So when I moved into my second house, Makisha, it was a four-bedroom, two-bathroom, two-car garage, had a nice sized backyard for the dog, everything. It was perfect, but I rented out my starter house. And when I rented out the starter house that was paid for because it didn't cost much, the rent from that first house paid for my mortgage for the second house. So I was still living without having to pay the mortgage with my 9 to 5 money. I created an asset to pay for my liability, my second house. And so if you're a beginner, learn how to be wise, learn how to create assets to pay for the things that you want. With a little patience, you can still get what you want. Same person who goes out and buys a duplex. Well, if there's somebody on the other side, they can pay the rent. They can pay you rent, which will help pay the mortgage, which helps saves you money. You're only required to stay in that duplex for 1 year. Then you can move out. Now a beginner has, in 1 year, you have two doors. You got two people paying you rent. Go get the house you want. The rent from those two people should help cover down on the thing that you want.
Man, I was writing down so much good stuff. Oh my goodness. Like, you just never know. Like you just never know. Like, my God. So thank you for this because I'm definitely gonna be using this for
So
when I'm ready to.
in
Hmm.
life, sometimes we feel like we're so far behind. I'm like, God, I'm at a certain age. I only got like $2,000 in my savings account. I should have at least like 30. Like, God, help
Yeah.
me catch up. I used to pray, God, can you help me catch up to where I think I'm supposed to be? And then when I started using certain godly principles and I started using wisdom, whoa, I'm sitting here praying to let him just let me catch up. He put me on a fast forward. Like I surpassed where I thought I should be and wanted to be. And I'm glad that he didn't go with my plan. And I'm so happy that he went with his plan. I didn't even understand that I was creating generational wealth when I did that. When I paid that first house off, the value of that house increased. Now, years ago, it was probably like $70,000. That house is worth now like $200,000. I still have
Wow.
a tenant living in there paying rent. And so, as the value of that house increases, my net worth increases, and it helps me to make monthly income because I still rent out that house to this day.
Wow. This is really good. This is really good. I was gonna add, I was like, God already gave us the resources. We just have to use it. We have to use what
Yes.
He gave us. That's powerful. That is powerful. God, like I gave you the resources. Like
Mm-hmm.
what we have now is a way more than what our parents had back then. Like with social media, the internet, like we have things right at our fingertips, and people too. We have
Yes.
access to people now with phones, and I could call somebody up. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
can we meet? Can I talk to you? We have cars, like, what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's always a way to do what you need to do, even if you feel like you're at the bottom of the pit. It's always a way to get out. I feel like people shouldn't be like, well, I'm here, so I'm just gonna stay here. No, it's always a way to get out. And like you said, you had to get into the kingdom mindset. You had to change the way you think, I guess. Like you had to change
Mhm.
your thought process on it, and that's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you for that advice. Thank you for that. That was a wealth of jewels dropping right now. I was about to ask you if you could give your younger self a piece of advice, but you basically did. You already.
Oh, and if I had to give my younger self a piece of advice, I would have told my younger self, learn the principle of compound interest, like the power of compound interest of when you invest and your money is making interest. And so you let that the interest that the money makes, you don't take it out of the investment. You just let it keep growing. Because had I known that at a young age, I would have left my money in a certain place where it could make interest and continue to flip and grow and grow and grow. Because with the power of compound interest, by the time you get ready to hit what they call a retirement age or step away from a nine to
Mhm.
five, that money worked so well for you that you literally didn't have to do much at all for it to grow.
Wow. Compound interest, y'all. You heard it first here. Compound interest. That's amazing. So I hope people are listening and really taking in and writing and not only writing but gonna do it. Gonna really take their mind out of that can I do it? Should I do it? No, do it. Do it. Do it. Put your faith on it. I'm putting my faith on it. I'm doing it.
I like that.
Um what do you want like people to remember most about this message that you brought before us? What would you want someone who's listening who maybe is at home and maybe not going through the best in their financial situation, and maybe have questions but don't know where to start, don't know where to go? What message that you brought forth today what would be that message that you want people to remember the most before we close out?
I would say make sure on Saturday mornings you go listen to Coach Steele's finance training on my
Yes.
YouTube channel. I'm kidding. One of the
No.
most important things that I want you to remember is remember this question, like, why not you?
Mm,
Why not you? Why not you have financial success? Why can't you be the one that reaches your financial goals and the success that you want to achieve? I believe you can. So you have to say, why not me? Why can't I do it? So on today, remember you need to get educated in the financial fields and areas that you want to be in, or what career or your business, entrepreneurship. And after you get educated, you need to get motivated. And when you're motivated, go take action, put your faith on it. Faith without works is dead. And when you
mhm,
take action, then continue to take action. Learn from what you're doing. I like this quote from Nelson Mandela. He says, I never lose. I either win or I learn. That is
mm.
so powerful. So when he takes action, just because it looks like a loss, he said, no, no, no. I might win or I might learn from the actions that I take. And
Ooh.
so people get so intimidated when they feel like they made a mistake. It's like, what did you learn? And how can you apply what you learned to now go back and make a better decision? So those are some things that you need to remember and take with you.
Wow, that was just a life moment in general for me. He said, Nelson Mandela said, I never lose, I might win, or I might learn.
Yes.
Wow. And God, like literally when we're walking the through our life, like when we're going with God through our life, it's never that we're losing. It's never that we're failures or that we've failed.
Correct.
It's just that he wants us to learn. He wants us to teach us something,
Hmm.
and because he knows we're going to make mistakes. He knows we're going to make mistakes. And we know we're going to make mistakes because we're not perfect. And so it's like, that's how you get out of that perfectionism too, you
Yeah.
know? Because I was like that. I'm like, no, I got to be perfect. I got to be perfect. And knowing that I'm not perfect, I will make mistakes and realizing this just today, what you just said, literally helped me with what I was battling with before I got on here. Because I was speaking to someone and
Hmm.
literally debating with someone about something, and I felt like I had lost that my witness a little bit. But God was like, "No, you never lost. You never lost anything.
Yeah.
You're just learning from what just happened. You're just learning. That's all." And so sometimes
Correct.
we can beat ourselves up so much because we feel like we've lost or we feel like we will never come back from what happened. We will never come back from, this or what we're in. Or we can never walk into what God has for us because we feel like we completely lost. Like, no, we out the kingdom. Like, no, I'm not, but that's not true.
It's not true because everything that looks like a loss isn't a loss.
Hmm.
And and I know I keep using scriptural references, but I love talking about the word of God. When
Yes.
they put Jesus Christ on that cross and they stretched him out, Markeisha, they thought that he took a loss. Oh, but little did they.
Listen.
It was a win. It was a win for everyone. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. And so he gave him so that we could have everlasting life. And so it wasn't a loss, it was a win. But the enemy thought it was a
It was a
loss.
loss,
And
right?
so, yeah, sometimes people or we may feel like it's a loss, but we have to open up our eyes. We have to look at that thing as how God sees us in the event that happened. Either we win or we learn.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that was good. Like, we have the victory. That was his
Yes,
whole
that's it.
plan the whole time. Like, the whole time. Oh my God. Thank you. Okay, so to leave like a fun touch, a personal touch. Um, if you weren't in real estate or financial education, what other passion might you have pursued?
Okay, so I'll say if I wasn't,
Mm,
but I am in some of my other passions that I love. So when I'm not talking about real estate, I'm also a preacher. I'm the assistant pastor at a local church in Liberty County. It's a Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church in Hinesville, Georgia. So
Yes.
I love preaching and talking about the Word of God, but I also do mission work with in Africa in a country called
Wow.
Cameroon. And I have some little people over there, some young people that I mentor and I work with. And then also, we're in the process of building churches over there. So, my other passion is helping with the mission work in Cameroon, which is why financial literacy is also important for me because we don't get those churches built over there for free. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to give of what I have and help with that process. And I'm able to oversee 7 churches over there in a ministry, and it's called Christ Evangelistic Mission. And so they go out, they do a lot of the hard work and go out and spread the gospel. And so that's my other passion that I love doing is working with the young people in Cameroon and building those churches over there so we can spread the gospel.
Wow. Wow. Like everything you do aligns with what God has for you. That is just amazing. Um, it's amazing. Like that's how I see myself when I get the money that I know I'm gonna have, is to
Yes.
help. I say, Lord, I just want to help people.
Yes.
That's why I
Mm.
do the
Now,
podcast too. I just want to
see,
help
this is
people.
good. And I'm gonna turn it back to you and let you
Um,
finish. And I because I want to tell you and pour this into you, Markeisha, when your desires to have financial success are bigger than you, then you might as well strap up and get and put on your seatbelt because God will take you on a ride. When I had a desire that was bigger than me, God, I needed finances to help support the mission and the work in Cameroon. When that became a part of my goals, besides just taking care of my family, being a good steward, God started sending people to help me with that mission. God started giving me opportunities, ideas, investments to create the money to help push his kingdom forward in Cameroon. So anytime you have a desire that helps build the kingdom of God, he will provide the resources. And
woo.
that's why Psalms 23 is so important to you. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall
Yes.
not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. And so when you understand that, he will lay it out. He prepares a table for you in the presence of your enemy. He leads you beside the still waters. He puts
Come on.
everything in place so that you
Yes.
can execute your job to the best of your ability. And that's the exciting thing about when you have desires to help the kingdom of God. You have to listen closely to God so that He can give you the strategies to bring in the income so that you can execute.
Listen to God to bring in the income. So that you can execute. Oh my God. Thank you. Wow.
Yes, He'll do it.
Wow. Yes. Okay, y'all. Listen. Woo. This wasn't just for me, y'all. This is for y'all. This is for y'all too. So as Pastor Simon, Coach Simon, Coach
Either
Steele,
one. Coach
Okay,
Steele.
Coach Steele
I wear a
has
few
been,
hats.
yes, Coach Steele has been pouring into this episode. I pray that it pours into your life as well, that you receive it. But that's a wrap. That's a wrap for season 2, episode 6. What's behind the wealth? Here on the Cool of the Day, we talk about Christ in real life and how each of us can be the light in someone else's darkness. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations. And remember, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Keisha Wolf. And Coach Steele, can you please tell the people where they can find you again with your YouTube and Facebook and Instagram?
Yes, I will. And I do want to give a quick shout out to Kara for being able to host an event so that we could connect. So
Yes,
without her hosting that event, we never connect. So shout out to her for doing that, pray, plan, and execute.
yes.
And also, if you want to find me every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone, I'm going live on Coach Steele's finance training on YouTube. And then on Facebook, you can find me with my name, Simon Steele, and some of those other sites I can't even remember, but I am on TikTok and I am on Instagram. But usually I'm commenting and busy on YouTube and Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, y'all keep shining, keep walking in faith, and keep being the light this world needs. Okay? It's your girl Kesh, host of the Cooler Today podcast. Peace. It's the cool of the day, the cool of the day, the cool of the day.